SteamWorld Heist takes place in a world where planet Earth has been shattered to pieces and the steam-driven inhabitants who once lived there, called Steambots, now colonize in space. Although Earth is no longer habitable, Steambots still needed water in order to survive. So farmers, who are called Cowbots, travel to the pieces of their former home in order to farm for moisture. As good as this sounds, unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished. Many Steambots saw this as an opportunity to take advantage of a beneficial situation, and so these Steambots, referred to as scrappers, turned to a life of crime and stole water for their own selfish purposes. With all of this criminal activity going on, naturally, a higher authority tries to govern the Steambots to create a sense of order, although many think that they are very corrupt in how they control it. These Steambots are known as the Royal Space Force. This puts you into the shoes of Captain Piper Faraday, a former cowbot who has taken on the life of a smuggler space pirate and hides out from the Royal Space Force in the outskirts. Unknowingly, the captain, along with the crewmates, will set forth on an adventure that will take them deep into outer space in order to find out more about a mysterious threat that may threaten the life of all Steambots. In order to progress through the story, the game presents an overworld that is filled with locations to explore. It is very reminiscent of Star Fox 64's overworld, where you have to travel to other planets, stars, and galaxies in order to progress. Although SteamWorld Heist has a similar structure to its overworld, what makes this game different is that the locations are mainly made up of shops, bars, and other spaceships. The battles in this game are missions that take place on spaceships filled with enemies. Unfortunately, because this game is linear in its structure, most of the missions are mainly tied to the story, so there isn't many opportunities for plundering a ship just for the fun of it. Although, there are challenge missions that will put your tactical skills to the test. This game divides itself into 3 separate overworlds, but in order to travel to each one, you have to progress through the story in order to unlock them all. When you finally unlock another overworld, the game will switch things up and become more challenging by switching up enemy types and therefore making you switch your strategies that you relied on before. What I mainly like about the progression in this game is that in each overworld, there is always a certain mystery or threat that is introduced into the story, and the way it unravels itself is very satisfying. This game is very good at moving a story along and giving players enough intrigue to continue playing the game. Not to mention that the boss fights for each overworld are amazing since each of them have their own special gimmicks. Aside from spaceships, players can find themselves in bars which not only serve as shopping centers, but also as a place for getting information to progress through the story. Unfortunately, you don't get to fight in bars, but instead it's a place where you can buy an array of guns and items, chat with locals about what's going on in the galaxy, find side quests, and recruit new characters to your crew. There are also shops that can be unlocked which specialize in selling certain items that cannot be found in bars, such as shops that sell rare guns and shops that sell rare hats. Speaking of hats, these are the only collectible items in this game that serve as nothing more than pure fashion for your crew. Luckily, collecting hats in this game is actually quite fun since you can find hats that can be cool to wear or very silly. Not only can you get hats through buying them at shops, but you can also shoot off hats from enemies you encounter during missions. Many of the hats that enemies wear can only be collected from that enemy, so this feature makes it much more enticing to try and collect them all along the way. Overall, I think this is a fun addition to the game. The characters you can recruit each have their own unique classes and special abilities. These factors are important because each character can be used in battle for specialized purposes. For example, characters who are a certain class cannot use other weapons that are specialized by another class. Some characters may be useful for staying back and providing support fire, while others may be more useful for getting close to enemy lines and causing destruction. While it may not be immediately apparent as to how some characters are supposed to be used, by putting them in missions and leveling them up, the characters will unlock more abilities that will make it more clear as to what their purpose is in battle. Not only that, but the characters you can recruit also have their own unique personalities and backstories. I love the fact that there are so many opportunities to interact with your crew and get to know them better. For example, if a character is destroyed during a mission, you can check up on them afterwards and see how they're doing. If something significant happens as you progress in the story, you can talk to some of your crewmates to see what they think about it. There are also times where certain characters will want to randomly talk to you about their past. All of these interactions are great because it makes the characters feel much more alive. One of the main reasons why I was so interested in playing this game was seeing the visual designs of the characters, levels, and general overworld. If you've played SteamWorld Dig before, which is another game created by Image Informed Games, then you should be quite familiar with the visual designs for SteamWorld Heist because it features the same vibrant art style. Personally, I love playing games that feature these types of cartoonish graphics. So one of the major reasons why I continued to play this game was because I thought it was so pleasing to look at. In a genre where realism is used aplenty, this art style has certainly helped SteamWorld Heist stand out amongst other similar games currently out there. As far as the sound design is concerned, the music for this game was created by a band called Steam Powered Giraffe. One of the cool things about this fact is that you can actually see the band as robot characters inside of the bars performing the songs they created. I must also mention that they are also the only ones who can speak inside of the game, so seeing them for the first time when I entered a bar was quite an odd experience. And even though this makes the game a bit campy, I think it oddly works, because it shows that this game is meant to be fun. Out of all the things I love about this game, the real beauty lies in its combat system. Before heading into battle, the game gives you a briefing of the objectives that need to be completed for the mission and lets you create a team composed of a certain number of crewmates. You can customize what kind of weapon each crewmate will bring, choose 2 items for each character that provides different types of support during battle, and also choose what kind of hat each character will wear. You can also change the difficulty of a mission before heading into it if you desire. Once you're done customizing your team, you can head straight into battle, where the real fun begins. The main reason why I love the way combat is handled is because it's very simple to learn, yet hard to master. You can control your Steambots by either moving a certain number of orange markers and getting an opportunity to attack, or you can sprint to a blue marker, which allows you to go farther, but the drawback being that you skip your attack phase. If you decide to attack an enemy, you can also use one of the 2 support items that you equipped to that character and use it before attacking to give yourself a certain tactical advantage in battle. Unlike a lot of other turn-based strategy games, you must manually aim the guns of your robots to destroy the enemy. This means that the outcome of a fight is more reliant on your skills than by chance. I quickly noticed that making each shot count in this game was vital to completing a mission because it made the difference between life or death. There were many times during a mission when I wasn't focused on where I was shooting and missed a shot, which often meant the certain death of a fellow crewmate. In the end, I think it's great that players are able to be directly involved with how much they control each character because it creates investment into the outcomes of fights. You can also collect swag during a mission that you can check out after completing it. Collecting as much swag as you can is very satisfying since there is a chance that you may have collected rare items, treasure, or weapons that you can sell or give to one of your crewmates. I must also mention that there is not a permanent death feature in this game. So if one of your crewmates sustains a casualty during a mission, a certain amount of money will be taken away that goes into repairing them, and you'll be able to use them again after completing the mission. Of course, if your whole team sustains a casualty, a large chunk of money will be taken away, and the mission will be a failure. However, you are welcome to take on a mission again as many times as you want if you failed it before. After you've completed a mission, you'll be rewarded with a certain amount of reputation points, which are determined by how many objectives were completed, if you've collected the epic swag, and how many robots survived the mission. These reputation points are important because you'll need to collect a certain amount of them if you want to unlock certain areas in the overworld, rare items, hats, and weapons you can buy. Earning enough reputation points is also vital in progressing through the story. Lastly, you can earn experience points to level up your robots after the mission is complete. The amount you earn is determined by the objectives you completed, the difficulty of the mission, and how much swag you collected. One of the cool things about this feature is that the total experience points is divided among the group that completed the mission. This means that everybody will get the same amount of experience points after the mission, regardless of how much they contributed to completing it. However, if one or more of your robots sustain a casualty, they will not earn any experience points, but the survivors will still be able to earn them. One of the other neat things about this game as well is that you don't have to fight every single enemy that's in your way to earn experience points. Unless it's a part of the mission, you can absolutely skip destroying every single enemy and just focus on completing the objectives. The amount of things you're able to do during a mission is also a reason why I think the level designing of this game is great. Each spaceship consists of objects to take cover behind when in a shootout, explosive objects that can help or hinder the fight, and swag to collect if you feel like looting. To make things even better, the layout of each enemy spaceship is also randomly generated. All of these features are great because it gives you more possibilities to be creative with how you want to approach a certain mission. It encourages exploring, and it also helps keep missions interesting. As far as the replay value is concerned, most of the levels in this game change every time you decide to play them again, so this feature will certainly help playing through the campaign or mission for another time feel slightly new. Because you can change the difficulty of a mission before hitting into it, collecting hats and swag you missed the first time won't be a chore. Unfortunately, there is no multiplayer in this game, so that may hurt the replay value for most people who want that game mode. But personally, I didn't mind it since I thought the single player campaign was lengthy enough for me to be satisfied. Although, I think it would have been nice to have another game mode included, even if it wasn't multiplayer, to extend the life of this game. Honestly, there isn't much that I didn't like about SteamWorld Heist, but there are some things worth mentioning that could be improved and may turn off others from this game. For example, there is only a single player campaign. So if you want to be able to experience the game again, your only choice would be to play through the New Game Plus mode and experience the whole campaign again. Although the levels are still randomly generated, the story stays the same, and the only thing that changes are that you can keep the characters you've recruited and the hats you've already collected. This is not an open world game, so playing the game again would probably only be worth it if you want to collect the rest of the hats that you missed, challenge yourself with a harder difficulty, or if you really like the campaign. There are also some minor annoyances I've noticed in this game that could have been done better. For example, one of the biggest annoyances I faced later in the game was how much inventory management I had to do because the game gives you so much loot and you're always running out of space to fill it all. So if you want more inventory space, the game makes you either buy inventory slots or collect swag that may give it to you by chance. This wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that inventory slots are very expensive. So basically, you end up having to either choose buying more inventory slots or an item that you want for your crew. Luckily, the game doesn't make you throw away items if you run out of space after completing a mission. Instead, you get an opportunity to sell your current items to make more room. As a matter of fact, you can sell your items anytime you want, even if you're not in a shop, except for during a mission. In conclusion, SteamWorld Heist is a game that has something to offer for all types of players, whether you're a beginner or a veteran to turn-based strategy games. A lot of what I think this game does well has to do with the fact that it simplifies this genre, but at the same time manages to make it fun. Of course, this means that this game doesn't have as many deep and innovative features compared to other similar games, but honestly, I don't think this game needed it. To me, this simplification created more room to make a game that is accessible to play for anyone, and I think that reason alone is enough for me to highly recommend playing this game. So if you're looking to step into the turn-based strategy game genre for the first time and would like to play a game that is not only friendly to beginners but also fun to play as well, then look no further than SteamWorld Heist.